Hello, welcome back to the CT Educator podcast. I have missed you guys. Welcome back to the podcast. Hope you guys are having a great start to your week. So, I know I've been a little MIA. It's just there has just been some shit going on in my life, like car issues. I had to drop $5,000 just to get my SUV fixed because there is a problem with the engine, which is a totally different story. So, life is 50-50. So, life is lifing and lifing for this girl here. So, I'm hoping that you guys are all well and hopefully it's a good start to the week. I know spring is upon us as daylight saving time coming on Sunday. So, that means warmer weather is coming, which I am a total summer person. So I'm just looking forward to not wearing sweatshirts and long sleeves and long socks and all that entails. Okay. So in today's episode, I am going to dive deep into CT scan stories. If this is your first time listening to the podcast, I have two different series that I run on this podcast. So one is CT trauma stories. The other one is CT scan stories. So make sure you check out the prior episodes because I dive in deep. I do each series once a month. And so I tend to do it once a month or every other month on just the different types of scans and encounters with patients that have stuck with me over the years as far as my experience in dealing with different types of situations. So in today's episode, I am going to talk about the psych patient and her doll. Yes, this is going to be a good episode. Now, before I dive into that, make sure you guys check out my courses, okay? Because I know there's a lot of you that comment, reach out to me on social media. If you need help, I have courses, I have an ebook, I have a PDF guide. I'm coming out with some other stuff as well. Make sure you guys check out my courses. All the links are always going to be in the show notes. You can send me a DM on Instagram. Check me out on TikTok. The CT Educator has its own TikTok channel now, so I am gearing up to post more stuff on TikTok. Or send me an email. So check out the courses. Check out, prior episodes of the podcast. It's great stuff because there's a lot of new technologists that are cross-training and have to be multimodality techs. So it's a great way to learn so you can do the basics. I have a cardiac 101 course, so make sure you guys check that out and jump on that, okay? So get in those courses. Plus, I'm in the process of building a new coaching and mentoring program for CT technologists. So I will have a link in my show notes on all that. So you can kind of see what kind of good stuff to help you, because I think in our profession, we need coaching and mentoring to be good technologists. That education piece is very, very important. Okay, so make sure you check out the show notes, check out the prior episodes, get your learn on, okay? Now, in today's episode, like I said, we're going to talk about the psych patient and her doll. So this is a case that happened a few years ago. As most of you know, if you're just listening to me for the first time, I do work in a trauma hospital in the state of Illinois. It's a very, busy, very commonly known trauma hospital on the south side of Chicago. So we get a lot of interesting stuff. Like we get a lot of different kinds of patient, different kind of clientele. So it's a little bit of everything. So this particular case, I was working overnight. So I was working night shift at that time because it just was kind of a better situation for my children. I was in the process of going through a divorce at that time. So I had to have a schedule that fit the needs for my kids so I can get them off to school and they were taken care of at night. So this case was probably, I want to say probably like around 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. And my partner and I had been scanning consistently all night long. Like it was trauma after trauma after trauma. all the cardiac arrests, all the ICU, follow up heads that we have to do, early in the morning, those timed heads, and just a lot of drunk, just car crashes, you name it. Like we had it all that night. Okay. And it was just the two of us. Now, overnights, I no longer work overnights anymore. I work day shift now because, situations in life change and priorities for my kids just change. So at that time, we had only 2 technologists at night. Busy trauma hospital with 5 scanners, just 2. Now there's 3. Sometimes there's 4, just depending on how the schedule works. So that particular night, it was 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. My partner was scanning down by the 256 that we have. She was scanning the umpteenth trauma that we had. And I was up further up front in the department. And they said, hey, we're going to bring this patient. Okay. So one of the techs that brought me the patient, he was a tech there when I started. Now he is a nurse. So I've seen him grow into this, awesome human. And he always respected us, in CT and was always helping us out because at night, ED and CT are like this. We're, besties. He brings over this patient. It's this young 24-year-old girl. And they are doing a complete, SI. So, possible, harming themselves. She's basically on a 72-hour hold because she's a danger to herself. And so, of course, they do a CAT scan because she's saying she's hallucinating and she's seeing things. Okay. So she comes over. I speak to her. She answers all my questions. And I noticed, and just by noticing, I knew I was really fucking tired that night, okay, because that was probably my 3rd or 4th shift in a row. She had this doll in her hand that she was gripping, just had like a death grip on it. So she proceeds to get on the CT table. I set her up and I told her how long it's going to be just to hold still, the whole script that we go through, right? So as I'm getting ready to do the last 5 cuts of her brain, the girl grabs the doll and starts screaming in the middle of the scan, and she jumps off the scanner. And I remember the tech and we jumped so quick in that room. I had to stop the scan. We jumped so quick, and she started screaming. And she was like, don't touch me. Don't touch me. And we were trying to calm her down. And as she is screaming her head off, my partner runs clear across the department. Mind you, she's pregnant at the time with her 3rd child. And she runs and it's like, what is going on? Who is screaming? Why are you screaming? Ma'am, what is the problem? And as she's sitting back on the stretcher, we see her just grabbing the doll and grabbing the head and twisting it. I want my mother. And she was like so angry. I shit you not. It seemed like she turned into the exorcist. Okay. So then the tech is like, okay, we're going to just hold off on this and I'm going to take her back. Okay. So I called the attending and I said, listen, she started screaming in the middle of the scan. I had like 5 cuts left. So if you want me to turn this in, it's great, but there's a lot of motion here. So he says, no, we're going to try again. We're going to see if we can possibly medicate her. Okay, fine. Well, and I would say like an hour goes by. All of a sudden they call, the code usually for a behavior when a patient's like being combative. So we hear this and all of a sudden what we go over to the ER to inquire and say, okay, well, what's going on? Is everything okay? Because we're so close by. Well, apparently the patient, the young girl that I had that started screaming in the middle of the scan and was twisting the doll like she was going to rip the doll's head off, apparently stood up, climbed up, was messing with the lighting fixtures up in the ceiling, She was able to pull the wire and try to strangle the dad. I'm telling you, this night, I don't know if it was a full moon or if something was funny in the water. And we knew like summertime was like right around the corner because people start to get funky. She literally tried to choke out the dad she had pulled like all the wires and everything from the ceiling and was trying to choke the dad and try to take the sheets and choke the dad. So, mind you, she was already on a 72-hour hold and she just was clenching this doll. It was probably one of the most bizarre cases that I've ever done in my entire career. Now, fast forward, there's several hours that pass by. It's 6 a.m. We're getting ready to get off our shift because we get off at 7. So I can tell you probably about, because we have public safety officers, so they're kind of like entwined with the state police in Illinois. It's the same thing with some of the universities that have hospitals here. They have campus police and they are, tied into the state police, right? So these public safety officers at the trauma hospital I work at actually do have guns and tasers on them because of the neighborhood that the trauma hospital is at. So about 5 of these public safety officers come with a young girl, along with the nurse, along with the same tech. And we managed to get her on the table. We managed to get her on the table. We managed to go ahead and get her scanned, get her back to the ER. They were able to get her placement and get her some help. And hopefully, she gets the help that she needed. I'm telling you, it's one of the most bizarre cases that I've ever done in my career. And the scary part is that the way she was squeezing the doll, it's like almost she was possessed. And that's what my coworker in the tech, who is not a nurse now, he's a nurse now. So we were just like, what the fuck is this? Because she was seriously squeezing the doll and like was ready to rip off the doll's head. And she would not let go of the doll at all. So that was probably one of the strangest cases. And I know we still talk about that case to this day because it was just weird and it was really out there. So that is my CT scan story for this month. So I hope you kind of get some takeaway. If you have like a similar story like this or anything, just weird or any interesting story, please don't hesitate to send me a DM on Instagram or send me an email. I love stories and I love to collaborate with other people and share those stories because I'm pretty sure they're very similar. Okay, so make sure you check out the show notes. Check out some courses that I have. Get in some courses so you can learn some stuff, okay? I even have a course that'll give you 4 CEUs if you need CEUs, okay? So make sure you guys check that out. I do have something that I'm going to drop. I do have a private podcast series. It's going for $24 right now, and it's also going to include a PDF guide. So make sure you check out the show notes for that. It's really a really good 10 episode that dives deep, and it's really good for whatever skill level you are at to give you some really good tips to be just the best technologist you can. So make sure you check out all the show notes. Make sure you get some courses, get your learn on, okay? I don't like to see you guys struggle, so get your learn on, all right? So hope you guys have an amazing week, and I will chat with you next week.